Lady Gaga, Bad Romance from our album Fame Monster. We were all on stage together at the Rainforest concert in New York with Bruce Springsteen as Sting and James Taylor. And Springsteen was saying, God, I wish I'd have written that song. You can hear Bruce actually singing Bad Romance. It's a real Springsteen type song. She's a great friend of ours and she's a wonderful godmother to our two sons. And she's in the throes of writing her new album. I've heard some of it and it's absolutely fabulous. And she's been doing really different things. She did The Sound of Music on the Oscars. She did the tour with Tony Bennett plus the record. And now she's in American Horror Story. So she's been doing lots of different things. But I can tell you I've heard a couple of things from her new album and it's really, really fantastic.
Honestly, I love Lady Gaga. She's always been so kind to me, and I wanted to give her like this big speech because I think she's insanely talented and really good to women.
She's the best. I've hung out with her. I've had dinner with her a handful of times now, and she's just the coolest human being. And I don't know, she was talking to me about, how much she's loved moving to LA and they're having so much fun. And she said something to me about, how it gets hard to walk down the street. And she goes, you get to a certain point, it's hard to, you know how it is. And I was like, no, Lady Gaga, I don't know how it is for you at all. But that's sweet that you think so.
I also read that Oprah credited you with being kind of the original Lady Gaga in terms of your clothes and all that. And I think that's fair.
Lady Gaga is my friend, and she understands that it had to start somewhere. And
right.
Sarah Dash and Nona Hendrix, one of the best writers in the world and one of the most outrageous, beautiful ladies in the world. And Sarah Dash, before Madonna, Sarah was wearing beautiful breastplates,
right?
With her beautiful body. And so we were before these ladies. And these ladies are doing it well now, and I'm so proud of them.
She's held her own with, with Tony Bennett. I mean, that's not easy. I mean, she held her own with him. And then the Oscar performance, which I hope she's back again this year. But that performance where people go, oh my God! I mean, people that I know that maybe weren't the biggest fans, just their jaws dropped to the floor. I mean, because her talent is immense. So I think a song like this, after all that, it's like, whoa! It's so the next thing, for her. It's just I think what people want from her is it's real. She doesn't have to wear a meat dress and.
Diane's a vegetarian.
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian. I like
me too.
We both are. We'd like her to wear a tofu dress. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
But it's also in a weird way.
Much lighter, of course, than a meat dress.
It probably smells better too.
Last week, Lady Gaga called the music industry a fucking boys club. Do you agree?
I like her. I like
her. Do you agree? And what do you think she meant by that? How was that presented itself?
Oh, I know
in
exactly
your
what she meant,
yeah.
and it'd probably be most suited if she explained that at some point, but I know what she meant being a part of it for so long. And I have just become accustomed to kicking down the doors, and not thinking too much about it because it is quite a boys club and it's a very male dominated industry. And but I've been in it so long that I'm a bit non-affected by it.
Yeah.
And I know how to walk in a room full of the other gender, the opposite sex, and just shutting it down and letting it be known what's okay with me and what's not, and what I will be doing and what I won't be doing. And sometimes that may mean you won't get the call that someone else that isn't as qualified may get, of the opposite sex. But you just continue to fight through that and continue to make your voice heard. And she does that very well.
What happened was, this is the amazing thing about my life. So I'm directing and creating all these shows. So on one soundstage I have Scream Queens, another horror story, another crime story. So one day John Travolta said, I want to meet Lady Gaga. I'm a big fan. And I said, okay. So I very proudly, click. I click him over to her and she's naked, covered in blood, doing a sex scene. I was like, oh, maybe this isn't the right day for this. But he stood behind the monitor and he was like cheering her on, and he introduced himself, and she was like me, so thrilled the first time she met John Travolta. So I ushered them off into a room where I was very proud that they got to meet each other. And he said, Gaga, Barbara Streisand is such a huge fan of yours because she thinks you're so fearless, and that brought tears to her eyes. And he knew about my ongoing obsession with Barbara Streisand. So he said, we should all get together. And we were like, okay, yeah, like that'll ever happen. So the next day the phone rang and it was John's people. And they said, how's dinner this Saturday at Barbara's house?
He's not messing around.
He was not messing around. So Gaga and I were like, you've got to be kidding me. So we both instantly said yes, and we showed up, and it was like a 5-hour fever dream of what you would want at Barbra Streisand's house.
Oh my God.
You know, she and I were like, we got the tour of the Underground Mall, and we got to see the costumes, and what I loved about it was their admiration for her and her admiration for them. I was just like watching. I was proud of her. I love her. She's one of the kindest, greatest people. But it was really like she dressed up for the dinner. She was wearing a see-through crocheted dress, I believe.
Barbara?
Gaga.
Oh, Gaga. Okay, yeah.
Gaga made an entrance at Barbra Streisand's house that was pretty astounding.
Wow.
But it was just sort of like,
Yeah.
it's,
This
you know,
is your life now, Ryan. This is your life.
well, growing up in Indiana, I was like, wow, if I ever saw that I would be that guy. But you know what it was? What I loved about it was I got to bring all these people who were fans of each other into a room to just say, I love you, thank you for the work, and keep doing what you're doing. Because I love John so much, and I love Gaga so much, and Barbara, obviously. So it was hilarious and a once-in-a-lifetime event.
I actually think she's great, and I agree with her. She's not the next Madonna. She's way better than that. Because I think first of all, she can sing. She's got a belter of a voice. She's a really good instrumentalist, and she's got a great sense of drama. And anybody could turn up to an awards ceremony dressed as a bacon sandwich gets my vote. You know, I mean, she's great.
She has developed into something that's really unique. You know, I mean, she created this character named Gaga. She exploited it on every level, made it work, and the songs were good. That was the deal. She wrote her own songs, and they were good songs, and really good songs. And then she performed them, and she didn't give up on it, and she kept going. Then she gets on the Oscars and does Julie Andrews totally straight. And when I saw that, I went, she just went to another level. She just went to a Streisand sort of level, where she can still do the insane Lady Gaga, but she can also do this now. She's kind of turned into a butterfly, you know. But you got to like that, you know. I mean, that's a real talented person right there. A record with Tony Bennett, who would have thought of that? I mean, how wild is that? Now, if I was her, I would make a really hard rock record right now, just on the other side of the Tony Bennett thing.
I was in a hotel in London the other day, and Gaga was like 2 floors above me. Needless to say, security was really, really tight. We didn't really get to see each other again that day because she was super busy. But let me tell you, that lady is a heavy metal maniac. She loves Priest. She loves Maiden. She loves Motorhead. All of these kinds of heavy metal bands that have been roaring on throughout the decade. She's a big fan of all that. When I met her, I think it was last year in San Diego, where I'm hanging out these days, we immediately bonded. You know, she's just this wonderfully talented lady with a spectacular voice. You know, you have to cut through a lot of the visual stuff with Gaga, and then you get to what her voice is about. For me as a singer, as a fellow singer, she's absolutely sensational. And I would love at some point to do something with her. I don't know if ever that's going to happen, but it's on my bucket list. I think we've all got a bucket list, Scott, and that's on mine.
It's Lady Gaga. I'm not going to lie. It was crazy to, you know, I'm a huge fan of hers. I'd seen her live 5 times, like in every incarnation, and such a fan of her. And the first day, I knew that my character was going to have a lot to do with her. I knew we were going to be married on the show. And so I definitely wanted to make a good impression, but I wanted to be myself, and, you know, all those things you go through. And I was in my dressing room, and it was my first big scene with her, and it was a big, emotional, like sexy scene, like all of those are. And I called my husband. I was like, okay, I'm so nervous. I'm going to meet her in a minute. He's like, just be yourself. It's going to be fine. And so I go on set, and she's behind this little scrim, and I was trying to see her, trying to peek, and then I saw her behind, and she was, you know, fully in character, and she's like, Will Drake. And she held her hand out for me to kiss her hand. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm kissing her hand now. She's already in character. Should I be in character? What's going on? And so I grab her hand and I kind of bow awkwardly, and I'm starting to kiss her hand. She's like, I'm not going to make you kiss my hand. And then she gave me a hug. And she was just super cool. And I said, what do I call you? And she's like, call me Stephanie. That's what all my friends call me, and now and my family, and I know everybody's heard on tons of talk shows from different, cast members how cool she is, but I can't reiterate it enough. Like, she's just down. She wants to play. She wants to create. She's very inspiring to be around because she's always challenging herself and always just wants to do the hardest choice and the most outside the box. It's really inspiring to be around as an artist, for sure.
And was it surprising for you to see, Lady Gaga, the pop star, come on set and be this outstanding actress?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't surprised that she was good because people like that, she's good at everything she does, and she's just she's so focused and she studies so hard. But was it cool to see? Absolutely. Like, to see somebody throw themselves into something so much. And she's just really touched my life. We've become great friends. She's been to my place. She loves my husband. She's a really special girl. I'm really excited for her in this next chapter of her life.
One thing real quick, I wanted to ask about that picture I saw with you at the Globes with Gaga
Yes.
and I think Kate Hudson.
Let me tell you something
what
about
was up
Gaga.
with that conversation tonight?
Well, first
Well,
of all,
what's up?
we
You
were
were
just,
gonna
it's
tell me
just
about Gaga. Tell me
girl.
about her.
She is such a sweetheart. She sent me flowers after that, just saying it was great hanging out with you. Like, it was, she's
That's
just
a classy move.
She is. She's a nice girl. She's a New York girl like myself.
Yeah.
And it was just very, very. She was overwhelmed with the fact that she won, and it was very well deserved. And and it was gracious. She has a graciousness about her, and I really like her. I like what she stands for. You know what I mean? Kind of like coloring outside the lines and being outside the box, and being accepted. And she's a nice person, and I really am happy for her success.